The supply chain for rare earth elements generally consists of mining, separation, refining, alloying, and manufacturing, devices and component parts. A major issue for rare earth elements development in the United States is the lack of refining, alloying, and fabricating capacity that could process any future rare earth production. One US company, Electron Energy Corporation, produces samarium cobalt, permanent magnets, and Hitachi Metals of Japan is producing small amounts of the more desirable neodymium iron boron magnets, needed for numerous consumer electronics, energy, and defense applications, as its China Grow facility. Electron Energy Corporation, in its production of its samarium cobalt permanent magnet, uses small amounts of gadolinium, a rare earth element of which there is no US production. Even the rare earth elements needed for these magnets that operate at the highest temperatures include small amounts of dysprosium and terbium, both available only from China at the moment. Electron Energy Corporation imports magnet alloys used for its magnet production from China. Prior to multi-million-dollar investments in mining, separation, and alloying facilities by Molycorp and other exploration and development projects in the States, there was a significant underinvestment in US supply chain capacity, including processing, workforce development, and R&D, which has left the United States nearly 100% import dependent on all aspects of the rare earth materials supply chain and dependent on a sole source for much of the material. An April 2010 Government Accountability Office report illustrates the lack of US presence in the rare earth elements global supply chain at each of the 5 stages of mining, separation, refining oxides into metal, fabrication of alloys, and the manufacturing of magnets and other components. According to the report, China produces about 95% of the rare earth raw materials, about 97% of rare earth oxides, and is the only exporter of commercial quantities of rare earth metals. Japan, for instance, produces some metal for its own use for alloys and magnet production. About 90% of the metal alloys are produced in China, small production in the United States, and China manufactures 75% of the neodymium ferron bond magnets and 60% of the samarium cobalt magnets. Thus, even if the US rare earth production ramps up, much of the processing, alloying, and metal fabrication would occur in China. According to investor analysts, the rare earth metals are imported from China, then manufactured into military components in the United States or by an allied country. The investor analysis states that many investors believe that for financing purposes, it is not enough to develop rare earth elements mining operations alone without building the value-added refining, metal production, and alloying capacity that would be needed to manufacture component parts for end-use products. According to the analyst, vertically integrated companies may be more desirable. It may be the only way to secure investor financing for rare earth materials production projects. Joint ventures and consortiums could be formed to support production at various stages of the supply chain at optimal locations around the world. Each investor or producer could have equity and offtake commitments. Where US firms and US allies invest is important in meeting the goal of providing a secure and stable supply of rare earth elements, intermediate products, and component parts needed for the assembly of end-use products. Most experts have predicted where new mining capacity for rare earths is likely to come on stream, but it is just as important to know where new downstream capacity, for instance processing, refining, and metals alloying, is being built or likely to be built in the world, as well as the likely investors in downstream capacity for rare earths. Additional questions that could be addressed include how long would it take to develop the skill set in the United States for downstream production activities? Would an international educational exchange program with those countries already involved in rare earth refining and recycling be appropriate? The management of Molycorp, the manufacturing company, is also examining ways to improve metal recycling. Much of their recycling research is focused on the magnets and the highly valued rare earth elements. They want to probe into the commercial feasibility of recycling materials contained in permanent magnets used in consumer goods. Sourcing sufficient quantities of end-use materials and understanding the metallurgical processes for extracting the heavy rare earth elements such as the dysprosium and terbium is an important part of the research. Testing the quality of the recyclable material and evaluating the economics will determine the project's success. Molycorp is also evaluating near-term opportunities to recycle energy-efficient light bulbs for the phosphors. Recent supply chain developments by Molycorp include the acquisition of Neo Materials Technology, a Toronto-based firm with rare earth processing and permanent magnet powder facilities in China. According to Molycorp, 18% of Neo Materials production volume goes to domestic Chinese companies and 33% is directly exported to Japan, plus an additional 11% goes to Japanese companies operating within China. One concern voiced by critics of this deal is that some of these highly valued materials could potentially become subject to Chinese export restrictions. Molycorp plans to ship some of its production capacity to its Neo Materials facility in China. Molycorp also entered a joint venture with Aido Steel and Mitsubishi Corporation of Japan and currently manufactures sintered permanent rare earth magnets in Japan and sold on the world market. China's policy initiatives restrict the exports of rare earth raw materials. China wants an expanded and fully integrated rare earth materials industry where exports of value-added materials are preferred, including consumer products. It is common for a country to want to develop more value-added production and exports if it is possible. China's goal is to build out and serve its domestic manufacturing industry and attract foreign investors to participate by locating foreign-owned facilities in China in exchange for access to rare earths and other raw materials, metals and alloys, as well as access to the emerging Chinese market.